Did you turn your phone off?
Oh, I don't even think I have my phone.
Yeah, turn your phone off.
Thank you.
It could be Amtrak.
That's nice.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Welcome, everybody. We're back from closed session. This is the Oroville City Council meeting, October 16th. Direction given, no action taken. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Move the flag. Salute. Pledge. Thank you. Mr. Spear, did you want to speak on the item of adopt agenda? Is that the item that you wanted to speak on? Yes. Okay, please come forward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I spoke on this a couple of meetings ago on the agenda, on non-agenda items that give some information for speaking. And it says that we should fill out a card and submit it prior to the agenda being called. I complained about it. I read out of the Brown Act that we're not required to fill out the card, and it never used to say that. Language was changed to make us make our request before speaking. I would like prior struck from the wording on the agenda. One of the council members said, well, we've never stopped anyone from talking before, and so if they're not going to enforce it, then why put it in there? It did happen to me. Council was going. There was an item being spoke about. Somebody said something, and I had something to add to it, to input. So I got up, filled out a card, and they tried to tell me, no, it's already going forth. They wind up letting me speak, but I don't think that it should say prior, that you have to have these in prior to the agenda being called forth if you're not going to enforce it. You really can't enforce it because these aren't required to be in the first place. When I brought it up, they said that they would look into it and reword it. I think that for speaking for us people of the city, that if we get an idea and we want to speak on something that gets an idea, we should be able to come up and speak. I think it's against our First Amendment right, trying to silence our input. And I would like to hear from the council. It should have been fixed last time when I read out of the Brown Act that we can speak before or during. I read the exact law. Linda said, talked to him and said to speak about it. Us as the constituents should be able to speak on whatever agenda item we like. Someone came in and the non-agenda items already passed, and you let them speak, and I respect that. And that's how the city council should be. They should be encouraging the city the citizens of Oroville to get involved and to speak and not try to silence their voices. And so I'd like the city council to fix this and take out prior to the agenda items.
The form prior to the conclusion of the staff presentation for
Correct.
that item.
And that happened to me. They tried to not let me talk one day, and that's why I'm really adamant about our First Amendment right. Thank you.
Thank you. So, when you said Linda, you're talking about Linda Draper told you to speak as staff and staff. Mr. Huber, can you please address this? And
Sure. The language that's here fully complies with the Brown Act. It does not say you are required to complete a blue speaker card. It says you're requested to complete a blue speaker card. The council determines when individuals on a particular matter that is on the agenda, the council determines when they speak. The council can have a set aside a time, and every public agency selects their own, as their own prerogative, their own procedure. Many of them will have the staff report, the presentation, then public comment, and then limit comment among staff and council to decide the issue. Others will have the agenda item, the presentation, comments among staff and council, and then do the public comment after the fact, and then go back to comments again among staff and council. It's up to the council how you want this meeting to be run. And so for efficiency reasons, we like to use the cards. And if I were to say virtually every public agency does, I'm probably understating it. I am unaware of any public agency that doesn't use cards, only because it creates some order to the process. If you eliminate the cards, it's a free-for-all. And that does not mean that someone who can't fill out a card or doesn't want to fill out a card will be prohibited. That individual simply needs to go to the clerk and say, I'd like to speak on this item. I don't want to tell you who I am. I'd like to speak on this. They will have an opportunity to speak. They'll have their 3 minutes. This is an opportunity for the public to give their comments to the council as to how they feel about a particular item on the agenda. What is here fully complies with the Brown Act and does not inflict anyone's First Amendment rights in any way, shape, or form.
so we have a difference of opinion. We have somebody that says they feel that way, and then we have our city attorney saying it abides by the law. So I would
Madam Mayor, if I could, this would be, in my opinion, completely resolving the issue. Whether someone feels this way, I think this would resolve the issue if it says, please. The sentence is at the last sentence, the last phrase in bold, where it says, please submit the form prior to the conclusion of the staff presentation for that item. If we were to add it, if we were to amend it so it says, please submit the form or notify the clerk, adding in or notify the clerk prior to the conclusion of staff presentation for that item, I think that resolves the issue.
So, example that Mr. Spear gave was a non-agenda item that we had actually moved things up and allowing somebody to speak afterwards. I understand one of the issues that we have is if the item's already been voted on, it's hard to have speakers afterwards. So I respect that. I think that would work. Would that work for you? But the words that you're using are different than the city attorney's words.
It would not work for me. It's like telling the city council that you got to put in the queue. It would not work for me. It's like telling the city council that you have to put in the queue before the item starts. It cuts us out from the discussion of it. When someone can be sharing on speaking on an issue, and then someone else can say, have some pertinent information, and then they come up, but this says you haven't put your card in or made it prior, the thing's already going, right. And they can stop them from putting in it. It's limiting the public's input to the meeting. It's like we put our time in to come sit through all this. I think that we should be able to speak and contribute without being hindered of our ability to speak because we didn't put our card in when the item's being spoke. It would make it a lot better for the public being able to contribute if that wasn't in there. If you're not going to enforce it, which someone said, then it shouldn't be in there anyway. Just take out prior, and I think that would fix
Well,
it.
that's what he mentioned. Take out prior. So.
Yeah, he didn't say nothing about prior.
And I happen to agree, because this is all new, and it's not the way the city has ever done this, and it's only come up recently that it has to be in such an order that if you got off work late, if you had something you wanted to speak about on an item, if the item has passed on the agenda and you wanted to be able to give your 2 cents of important information, that the way this verbiage is you don't have that right anymore if we do that. And this is where I think Mr. Spear's coming from.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I understand his point. I'm not minimizing his point. It's the decision of the council as to how they want it, as to how they want the meeting run.
So since this has already been brought up in the past, I am for removing prior. If it's causing angst for any of the citizens, I think it's the right thing to do. Any of the other council members, I don't think we can actually vote on this evening.
Yeah,
it needs to be looked at. But
if you'd like it at a future agenda, we'll have to, if you want to bring this back to talk about the procedure, we can do that.
I would like that. Thank you. Any other questions or comments before we move on? Anyone? Okay. Presentation and proclamations this evening. We have a couple of proclamations, and we have also a couple of presentations. So, working? Yes. We got a full house this evening. Welcome, everybody. So we actually have 2. Welcome to Oroville, and one of them I just heard might not be here this evening, but let's try anyway. How about Strive Dance and Performing Arts? Is there anybody here to accept it? Well, Strive has opened a new business, and it's a new business acknowledgement for Strive Dance and Performing Arts as a new business in Oroville, established June 11th, 2018. We can do it again if they can make it on another meeting. The next one, is there anybody here from Smart and Final? Come on down. Now you know you're going to have to take the microphone and talk, right? They should have told you that. All right. Welcome to Oroville. How many have been to Smart and Final, right? Aren't we happy they're here? Anyway, welcome to Oroville. This is your new business acknowledgement, and I want you to hang it in your store somewhere that everybody can see, okay? All right. So welcome to Oroville Smart and Final, store number 808, as a new business in Oroville, established June 10th, 2018. Now, I want you to say a little bit about your store. You got to do it. Yeah, come on. Smart and Final. So I'll say a little bit. When I used to live in Las Vegas and had a bunch of little kids and a couple of dogs and a rabbit and a turtle, I shopped at Smart and Final because I needed all the cleaning supplies back then, and it was like before big box stores came along. Well, now they've turned into this amazing like mini Whole Foods type thing. So they have a lot of really good stuff, and we're happy that you're here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a couple of proclamations this evening. It's a proclamation recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Is there anybody here to accept the proclamation? Come on down. You all look familiar. Hi, how are you? Good. So I'm going to read this, and then you can say a few things about what you do and why you stand here and why you fight for the cause, okay? All right. This is proclamation recognizing October 2018 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas progress has been made towards breaking the cycle of violence and providing support to survivors and their families, nevertheless, much work remains to be done. Whereas domestic violence shelters and services, law enforcement officers and officials, healthcare providers, court systems, legal aid providers, tribal organizations, and others are all an integral part of the effort to end domestic violence. Whereas domestic violence affects adults and children of all racial, ethnic, cultural, social, religious, and economic groups in the United States as well as here in Butte County. Whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity through the systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, verbal, and economic control and/or abuse. Whereas domestic violence is the third leading cause of homelessness among families. Whereas the prevalence of domestic violence in violence may be diminished by educating and empowering the community to develop and maintain healthy relationships. Now, therefore, we, the Oroville City Council, do hereby proclaim October 18th as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and call upon our community to increase their participation in efforts to prevent domestic violence, hereby strengthening and empowering the community in which we all reside. Signed, Mayor Linda Dahlmeyer. There you go.
My name is Cindy Hawthorne. I've been a domestic violence advocate in the community for 14 years. We are located right up at the CCC building up on the levee, and we have been providing services since 1977, so quite a while. And I am the law enforcement advocate, and I work closely with OPD and several of the other agencies in South County. And we do a lot of variety of services, restraining orders, court accompaniment, helping folks, victims through the process, and really just trying to be a support for them. Many victims are here and don't really have a good support system, and so we just want to be there to offer that for them, provide some counseling, and try to help them through their time of difficulties. And this is my coworker, and she's going to say something too.
Thank you on behalf of Catalyst for declaring October Domestic Violence Awareness Month. My name is Brianna Hodnett, and I am an advocate at our Oroville Drop-In Center. 2018 marks the 31st anniversary of Domestic Violence Awareness Month and the 41st anniversary of Catalyst Domestic Violence Services. Every October, Catalyst plans a series of educational and awareness events in the Butte County community. The events vary, but share common themes: mourning those who have died as a result of domestic violence, celebrating those who have survived, and bringing our community together to take a stand against domestic violence. Some of this year's highlight include the Love Is Acoustic Showcase, where local musicians help us celebrate healthy relationships by playing a set of their favorite love songs, and Flowers on the Creek, where we honor the memory of those who lost their lives as a result of intimate partner violence. Last but not least, we'll be hosting a training on intimate partner violence for service providers and community members on Monday, October 29th on the Butte College campus. For a complete list of events, you can go to www.catalystdomesticviolenceservices.org. Thank you.
They could use our support. The next is a proclamation recognizing October 2018 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Is there anybody here to accept this proclamation this evening? Here we are, right in the front row. Awesome. And I'm going to ask you to say a few words afterwards, okay? All right, this proclamation recognizing October 2018 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas breast cancer is the second most common cancer in women after skin cancer, and with 1 in 8 women developing invasive breast cancer over the course of her lifetime. Whereas this year, 120,000 women will develop invasive breast cancer, along with 63,960 women developing non-invasive breast cancer. Whereas every woman has some degree of risk for developing breast cancer, and the risk of breast cancer increases as women get older. Whereas while there is no public health interventions which will prevent breast cancer from occurring, early detection through regular mammography, clinical breast examination, and breast self-examination self-examination can improve treatment outcome and significantly reduce the number of deaths resulting from the devastating disease. Whereas in California, Every Woman Counts, a program of the Health Department Care Services Cancer Detection and Treatment Branch, provide free breast screening and diagnosis for low-income women without insurance. Whereas Oroville is committed to protecting women's health, preserving families, and saving lives by continuing to create a greater public understanding of breast cancer and the need for early detection and continuing research. Now, therefore, we, the Oroville City Council, do hereby proclaim October 2018 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, encouraging residents to recognize and support patients, families, and professionals leading the fight against breast cancer. Signed, Mayor Linda Dahlmeyer.
Hi, my name is Teresa Swardat, and I'm president of the Sigma Phi Gamma Sorority International, Delta Upsilon, and we have been putting on the Breast Cancer Walk for a number of years. It's always done in October. We usually have a very good turnout, and we'd like to see more people join us. It's a very worthy cause. We have a wonderful pancake breakfast, and there's a lot of booths, a lot of community services there to help. Do you have any, Judy? Anyway.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. They could use our support too. I think I'm done here. So the next thing we have is actually two presentations this evening. The first one would be from John Miller George. I'm just going by memory, but at least he was the first one to ask, so he should be the first one up. Mr. George.
First, thank you, Mayor Linda Dahlmeyer. I know you're not running for re-election.
We need you to speak into that microphone.
Okay.
Move it
I
down
will.
to where it's going to be right in your mouth. There you go.
Almost swallowing it now. First, thank you, Mayor Linda Dahlmeyer. I'm going to be sorry that you're not running for re-election. I'm going to miss you. I'm not sure whose idea it was to name the businesses and things, but I like it. Now let's see if I can get this thing to work. Maybe. Let's see. Gotta put my own glasses on. Okay. Decided not to work.
So, do you need some help with that? Because we can make help happen.
Okay. Or you could do the other presentation, and I can see what's going on.
Okay. Is there anybody that can help with the IT on this? Anybody? Chris, please.
Google Slides. There it goes.
Chris. Wow. Put that first slide back up. I liked it.
All right. I'm not the world's greatest public speaker. I'm also not the greatest maker of slides. This is like the first time I've used the program. I'm far more used to coding computer systems and installing international ERP systems than I am a public speaker. But I have had the pleasure a few times of when I knew what I was talking about, that people appreciated it.
So we're gonna confirm that this is about a 15 to 20 minute presentation, correct?
Yes, I have a total of 20 slides, a few I can skip.
Okay, so I'm just wanting to make sure that you stay on task because we have a long agenda this evening and the place is full. So you've got the floor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's make Oroville great again. I chose those words on purpose because I believe that the city needs to come together to solve problems. And the city of Oroville, and I'm going to say we in the sense that as a community, we have problems to solve. One of them, budget shortfalls. 2, declining revenue. 3, rising costs. 4, layoffs. 5, fewer living wage jobs. Poverty and homelessness. In a democratic society, we decide how to better ourselves. And together, as neighbors, we take action. We have to hold our public officials accountable, and we have to change our minds sometimes from old comfortable things to make a better life. The first thing we do is we decide to do it. But, there's always a but. We need a plan. We need, in the situation that the city is in right now, we don't need just a good plan. We need a great plan. And this plan is based on California's SGIP, which almost nobody's ever heard of, but it stands for Self-Generation Incentive Program. SB 700 was signed into law on September 27th, 2018. Provides some $700 to $800 million for generation and storage on the customer's side of the meter. So there's 2 sides of everybody's electric meter. In the orange there, we have the front of the meter, well, rows, or the utility side. In the green, we have the back of the meter, or the customer side. That's the side that SB 700 addresses. And SB 700 provides money for both sides, and I have links that may or may not work, and I'm not going to try them right now, but PG&E is getting 3 huge battery arrays, and they're going to use those to shut down 3 gas-fired electrical generating plants. The first one of these kind of plants went into Australia. Elon Musk built it with, of course, the help of his company. And he said, I'll build it in 100 days or it's free. He built it in 90, tested it for 10, turned it over right on time. And it went out and saved enough money to pay for itself in 6 months. And it has now made about $18 million profit. At the same time, electrical outages, which were common at the time, are gone. So now let's talk about our turn. How do we get our share of the money? So the estimates are $700 to $800 million, and I took $750 million and divided it by 58 counties, which is $12,391,034.48 over 5 years. So, if we divide it by 58 counties, that comes to $2.5 million per county per year. However, there's a nice little feature in this that says that if you're in a poor county, and unfortunately Butte County is the 2nd poorest county in California, we get like an extra scoop of ice cream. So how does this work? Well, also in Australia, they are building a 50,000 home virtual power plant. Once again, Tesla's leading the way. So imagine if your roof generates your own electricity, and if it generates even more, that gets stored in a battery that is extra until you need it, or you can sell it to your neighbors via the utility. So imagine if somebody came in and offered to put a virtual power plant in Oroville, and everybody who signed up, their bills start dropping, and after the equipment is paid off, Then we use that money to do another neighbor's house until we have everybody covered. A smart home monitoring system will handle, I'll call it the magic. I've been studying the programming and I think it's kind of really cool, but it's too complicated to talk about now. There was a movie called Pay It Forward. This is how Oroville, all the neighbors, can pay it forward. It doesn't matter if you're a conservative. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican, a cowboy, a liberal, a Democrat, a hippie. It doesn't matter. If you have a roof or you're renting a place that has a roof, you could buy power from the person who owns the power generating on that roof. We need to start a virtuous circle, which means everybody helps everybody else and things get better instead of worse. I'm using the example of a 70-year-old charity called Heifer International that I've donated to in the past. And what it does, including the United States, it gives poor people starter farm animals. Goat, sheep, chicken, geese. But kind of unique, they give you a heifer, the first calf, you give that to somebody else. So you're enriching not only yourself, but your neighbors. That sounds a lot like the golden rule to me. This is a great idea, and we can do something like this by sharing with others in our community. And now, Oroville businesses, homeowners, and building owners can share their prosperity, and the city can help generate that prosperity. There's a lot to do. The current California SGIP regulations are being rewritten. This program has been in effect for a while, but no one's been taking advantage of it. We can use the current regulations as a guide and prepare our applications now, and then as new regulations are promulgated, we can modify our applications and get first in line instead of last. We need to move faster than what we usually expect. One of the things we can do ahead of time is evaluate Oroville's planning and zoning to speed up the approval process. We could target a 1-week turnaround time for all California SGIP permits that conform to zoning and building regulations. Hey, if they conform to the regulations, why would it take more than a week to approve them? We should also move to where we do our inspections online and commit to, we'll do the final in 2 days, 2 business days, and equip our inspectors with cameras and whatever they need to do the documentation. Any questions from the mayor and council?
I'll ask a couple questions. So,
okay.
John, do you know of any other cities that have done this at all? I mean, you say it's been around for about 5 years and not many people have used the money. Is there any examples in California at all?
There's examples in Australia, there's examples in Arizona, but this part with the batteries is relatively new. Because Elon Musk went down to Australia and showed the way, my first question is, why not California?
Right.
And who's going to be the first one to step up and dip their bucket in this waterfall of money?
So when you say to write the documents, if you can go back so I can use the right verbiage, we should target a 1-week turnaround. No, I'm thinking, okay, the regulations are being rewritten for the next 5 years. We can use the current regulations as guidelines. Who, in your opinion, is the best person to write this type of grant request for this type of money? What type of person writes that?
Me.
Okay. So you've done that kind of stuff in the past?
The grant writing is basically sitting down with our attorney and figuring out where the law applies and any changes that take effect, and then filling out applications.
Okay. Our attorney meeting our attorney, Scott Huber?
Yes. I didn't want to ask the county or the city or anybody else to pay for yet another attorney when we already have one on staff.
Right. Okay. Is there any other questions or comments from the council at this point?
Just that I'd love to talk to you after council.
Sure. Okay, I'm not going to take questions from the public right now.
No, but I can just tell by looking, there's a few people out there that might be interested in sitting down with you and chatting.
I'm going to be
just in
waiting
general.
outside the chambers to make sure I don't interfere with anybody else's business, but I'm going to stay till the end of the meeting.
Okay. Right.
And I do want to speak on the non-agenda items. Okay, so this is the ask. I'd like a 12-month contract starting November 1st with my company, Gold City Consulting. I already have a mobile license here in Oroville. I believe you should keep your consulting dollars in Oroville. If I look at all the consulting, you know, some of it you can't help, but you got to get outside help. But if there's a way to do it in Oroville with people who are paying taxes and living here, good idea. I believe I'm been a guy who gets things done. I got a one-time job that they said will take $5 million a year for 5 years. I finished it in a year. And the last 4 months were spent waiting for them to test it. We need to track the regulation changes and adjust our team efforts accordingly. We need to hold a weekly 1-hour meeting, and I would need to meet with legal more than that. But I call it a progress and ouch meeting. A lot of people are reluctant to make a mistake in public, and Elon Musk showed us, hey, I'll make a video of all my rockets blowing up because now they're not. I would like to hold public meetings. I think we'd have to have a venue like the state or the municipal auditorium. Oh, how much? I was sitting here thinking about consulting, and I used to get paid $1,500 a day and probably $500 a day in expenses. So I said, well, that's about $2,000. So I'm retired. I've been not doing it for a while. So I said $2,000 a month would include my expenses. And if the city wants to send somebody with me, they would need to pick up the tab for that. But basically, Gold City Consulting for $2,000 is one great deal. Any more questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
I may have missed it, but what is your experience with grant writing?
I don't have any.
Okay, thank
But
you.
I learned things in an amazingly fast time. I was on a job in Japan, and they had spent $250,000 on a consultant, and he came in and gave them a snow job. And when I arrived, because I was depending on their system to work, it didn't work. I had to read their manuals and figure out how to fix it. They're all long gone, counting their money, and I had to go fix it. So, like, I've never had a challenge that I haven't been able to beat.
Any other questions or comments?
So, in the last line, Madam Mayor, members of the council, would anybody like to make a motion? I've already been waiting 6 months to get here. And I'd like to see, as your parting gift, Madam Mayor, that you take advantage of this. Why not be the first city to scratch up a couple $1 million? Why not be the first?
So, as much as we would probably like to move forward on a motion, we can't do that on a presentation. But what I can do is have some staff and or council members assigned to researching this and having it brought back as an item on the agenda.
The next meeting is after the election, right? I think it's November 6th.
It's
the
that
day
it's
of.
that day.
Yeah, but I'm still the mayor till January.
Oh, great. I got no problems then. I think I probably exceeded my time already.
Thank you so much. So what I would like to do is ask, and Chief LaGrone was somewhere right around here, but ask, is there any other council members that is interested in hearing any more about this SB 700, and what staff has any information on that? Gary's got his hands tied. Oh, he's pointing to Jackie. Oh, Amy. Amy! Do you know anything about SB 700? Would this fall into your area at all?